What's going on, everyone? We're back on the podcast with our last article of the day, and we're on CNN.com. Remember, links always will be down below. So we're going to talk about couples therapy. When is it really time for couples therapy? This is by Ian Kerner. He's a licensed couple therapist. I think we read a couple articles about Ian Kerner. All right, so here, CNN. I'm often asked when couples should consider therapy. It's common for one partner to be unhappy, feel disconnected, or feel that their needs of intimacy aren't being met. But rather than communicate about it, that partner may open up a metaphorical window with someone else and begin an affair. Fair, sometimes, yeah. Cheating isn't the only way people deal with it. Some people just shut down and just want to make the other person as miserable as they are without ever fixing everything or anything. The same scenario rings true for other sources of contention, from financial disagreements to sexual concerns. It's clear that couples shouldn't wait until they're in crisis mode to come to therapy. But what should they do? Yeah. So this is another thing, and I have to say this is on the side of a lot of couples therapists. Most of the time when couples come in, the relationship's already done. They're just kind of coming in to see who the therapist sides with and to really say, yeah, see, the therapist said this, so the relationship is over. See, I told you we were done, or anything like that, to justify their position. So that's one thing you got to think about. If you're going into therapy, a couples therapy, to try to justify your position, you might be wasting your money. You're most likely wasting your money. But let's see, when is it the right time to see a therapist? Couples should see therapy long before they think they need it. This is totally true. This is counterintuitive, and you think, well, if I don't need it, why should I go? You really should. It's just like, say, an oil change in your car. You don't go when you hear everything season up because there's no more oil. You change the oil on a regular basis so there's no problems mechanically, right? Most experts believe that therapy can be an important part of your relationship. Yeah, for some. Most issues within the couple start small and then grow in size when they don't get resolved. Yeah, everything festers. This is where therapy can help by giving tools and techniques to improve conflict resolution. This is important. The majority of couples that I work with say that they should have started therapy years earlier. Yeah, and that's true. I have the same experience. And that's for individual and for couples. They feel like, man, I was so worried, or try to deny that I needed an analysis or a couples analysis, and now here I am and I feel behind. It's like people who feel they're behind on work or starting their own business because they had so many reasons of why not to do it, and they were just excuses, not reasons. So there are three sides to every story: his side, her side, and the truth. Psychotherapist Kimberly Rencic Anderson agreed. An objective third party can be just the ticket when couples feel they can no longer communicate effectively. Yeah. Rather than viewing therapy as the solution to a crisis, look at it as an integral aspect of a healthy life. That's for some couples. I don't think everyone should always be in couples therapy. Like I said, I have my bias. I think everyone should be in an individual more than the couples. And once you've mastered some things in individual analysis or individual therapy, then you can go into couples and it actually be useful. So every couple should take preventative measures to maintain their health and their relationship, just like going to the gym, she said. Yeah, that's a good example. Instead of the car and the oil, like the gym. You don't go to the gym after you've had a heart attack. You go way before you've had a heart attack, right? If couples don't work their relational emotional muscles, they become untoned, weak, and create more of a chance of damage being done to the relationship. And this is all true. So what happens during couples therapy? Although every therapist is different, there are some things common. The first session typically involves the therapist getting to know you, discussing the areas of the relationship they help to improve, and setting goals. So this is with therapists, the setting goals. If you're with an analyst or anyone trained under analysis, or if you're looking through like psychology today, you see psychodynamic, and they really are psychodynamic. It's really not about setting goals. If you're saying, oh, a therapist will say, we go to a couples therapist, right? One's under psychology, and you say, oh, we're not having a lot of sex. They might give you some homework and say, well, why don't you this week try to have sex twice? Or in this month, try to have sex 2 times a week. So it'll be 8 times this week. And see how that feels, and write things down, right? They'll give you homework. where an analyst will ask questions, will lean way more to asking questions. Well, what, both will ask, when did the sex stop? Do you have any ideas why the sex stopped? Both will ask these questions because they have to know. They're just getting to know you. But the analyst will keep trying to understand what is the cause, what is the disease, not the symptom, right? The symptom is the lack of sex there, but there's a disease festering within the relationship, and that's what the analysts go for, and that's why analysis takes a little bit longer. We treat the disease, we try to cure a disease, not treat a symptom. But not all therapists will assign homework for the couples to work on before the next session. Yeah. Ideally, most of the work gets done, in my experience, outside the office. Psychotherapist Samantha Manowitz said. And that's true. Yeah. The therapist isn't there to save you. They can't save your relationship. They're a tool to use to work on your relationship and really to work on yourselves so you can work on a relationship. So what problems can benefit from therapy? I'll tell you, you can deal with just about anything except medical problems in therapy. We can't treat, things like diabetes. We can't treat chronic illness, but we can help you with chronic illness, dealing with a chronic illness every day on the mental side. So, and anything that a couple comes up with, you can really work on individually or with a good couples therapist, right? But in my experience, in addition to infidelity, the greatest issue includes sex, communication, money, and major life changes, such as getting married and starting a family. Yeah. So if you're about to get married, it's a good time to see someone, even if it's for a couple of sessions. That's one time I definitely think you should see a couples therapist, because that's preventative. If you're going to go see a couples, do it for preventative reasons. So you're about to get married, you guys are planning on having kids, you're going to have a kid soon, your first kid soon, or another kid soon, major moves. So like transitions is a good time to make sure you have support. They can provide a safe space. The therapist, can provide a safe space to talk about sensitive topics such as sex. So this is a true and false statement. It is a safe place to talk about it because there shouldn't be judgment unless your therapist is trash. But it's safe, but it's a very dangerous and vulnerable space to talk because you're talking about sensitive subjects and things that are really deep in you that you don't share. So remember that it's not about having good feelings. You shouldn't just be having good feelings in individual or couples therapy or analysis. It should be a little bit hard. It can even be painful, and that's all right. You're talking about painful subjects, right? Just like folks can get caught up in negative relationship cycles, couples can often also get stuck in a negative sexual cycle. Yeah. So this is just talking about sex, and this is talking about communication for couples. You might also consider couples therapy to help support you at major times of your life, like getting married, becoming parents for the first time. Yeah, so this is what we were talking about a little bit earlier. So what if one partner refuses to go? So I'm not going to read this part. I'm just going to let you know what to do. If you want to go to couples therapy and your partner, spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever, they decide that they don't want to go, oh, we don't need it, I don't believe in it, whatever. It doesn't matter what their excuse is, right? Know it's an excuse, and don't try to force them. You try to force them, they'll never go, and if they do go, they're going to go out of resentment, and they're going to sabotage it. There's about a 100% chance they will sabotage the couples therapy. So if you want to go to couples and they don't want to, go by yourself. Go as an individual, because you got to remember, you are in a relationship, even in a marriage, whatever, under contract, long term, whatever. You're in a relationship, but you are always the most important person in that relationship. And you have to be the most important person in a relationship, because if you're not strengthening yourself, you're useless to the relationship and to the other person and the people who depend on you. You can't hurt yourself and think you're going to help the relationship, right? So go work on yourself. And while you're getting better and you're working on things, they're going to notice this. And some people, let's say I had someone else seen individually because they wanted to come in for couples, and their partner came in a couple times, and I hate this, and Mr. Ayala, he's full of shit, whatever. Every excuse, right? They were very angry. It's fine. So then I started seeing the other person individually for a while, and they started resolving a lot of repetitions, a lot of issues that they had, and they saw a lot of things in their relationships and a whole mess of things, right? So they got better, right? A lot of things were cured, we'll say, for instance. A lot of the diseases were cured, which cured up a lot of the symptoms that they were expressing in relationships and in their individual life. Their partner got even angrier about that and was trying to sabotage the relationship even more, or sabotage the analysis even more, because who they were with were getting better. Eventually, that person, the one who was angry, came into individual and eventually told me that they were angry because they got scared that since their partner was getting better, that their partner would realize that they themselves are no good and they would be left. So it's a very deep reason why people don't come in, and they don't. I'm going to tell you, most of the time, people who are resistant to couples therapy, it's not for the reasons that they say. It's something very deep and emotional. So let's move on a little bit here. So instead of waiting for the other person who doesn't want to go to therapy, go for your own self-improvement. Yeah. So same advice. How do you know if your therapist is a good fit? So I talked a little bit about this, or I talked about this extensively in the video before, if you're watching this live, or a full video of how to find a therapist. So I'm going to link that one down below also for those who are watching this on YouTube. So I talk a lot about how you find a good therapist, how do you know they're a good fit. The main thing is, you can go to Psychology Today, look at their specialties, look up your therapist or the analyst or the social worker, look up their social media or their videos, like you guys have found my videos, and you're learning a little bit about me and my ideas about couples therapy and all the things. I have a bunch of videos. You learn a lot about my ideas. You can ask me questions before you ever come to my office or ever make a phone call or email me. Then once you see someone that you're like, oh, I actually kind of like them. I like this blog, or I like this video, or these blogs or videos and things like that. Give them a call and then go see them. And that's really the only way you can know. So you do a lot of upfront research before you make the phone call, right? Unless you're super desperate, then do as much research as you need. You're like, oh, this person, great video. They're exactly who I need. You make the phone call. So that's how you know. You know through experience, right? So how long should therapy last? So a lot of the preventative stuff, it's pretty short term. When I see people who are about to get married, I don't see them for years and years and years. For sure, I don't see them for years and years and years, unless something pops up that we have to work with. But a lot of that maintenance stuff is pretty fast. A couple of sessions, maybe a couple months. We're about to get married. We're about to have a kids. Couples who come in because of kids, they usually stay a little bit longer because that's a really big change, especially the first kid. And I usually find a couple individual. They're not coming in for couples. So, yeah, a couple of months to a couple of years. It completely matters on what you need and what you discover you need. And so that was it. So yeah, I hope this gave you some ideas. And if you have any questions, if you're finding me on YouTube, leave them down below, or my Patreon members can reach me through there. And those in my private Facebook group, just ask it in the Facebook group, and we'll start a dialogue there in our community. And thank you, everyone. I would love if you guys could support me always. And I thank every one of my Patreon members. I think I have 2 more spots left. The next 2 people who, as of today's date, or as of this video going up, who sign up for my Patreon, no matter at what level, you get a 1-hour session with me for free. And that's over the phone, Skype, long distance communication, or through my physical office if you're in the Florida area or will be in the Orlando area. So yeah, thank everyone's in the podcast. Like I said, thank you to my patrons in the private Facebook group, and I'll catch you all in a couple days.